If you're thinking about selling a house in a year or two, in this video, I'm going to share a single, very powerful resource that's going to help you maximize your sales price and sell it in the shortest amount of time. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when to list your house, and more importantly, when to absolutely avoid listing your house so you don't miss out on serious buyers. In just a little bit, I'm going to show you a real market data, and I'm going to extract all the key insights using my engineering brain so you can use this immediately. I'll make sure to leave the link in the description below so you can reference it later. I would say 1 month before you put your house on the market. First, let me get rid of a myth. You might think you need to become a data analyst, study inventory report, or read supply and demand charts. No, all of that is going to drive you nuts because you don't have access to professional tools. Instead, if you just understand this one graph fully, you will know when buyers are actually visiting properties, not just browsing online or scrolling through Zillow while they're on toilet, but actually getting in their car, driving to properties and ready to put an offer. Let me give you some background on the resource. This resource comes from ShowingTime. I'm not affiliated with them, but I use their app to coordinate showings. For example, when I'm representing the buyers, I use their app to request a showing. And same thing when I'm working on the other side representing the sellers, all the buyer's agents request showings, and I coordinate with the sellers, make sure the house is ready for showing. Once I confirm the appointments on the app, ShowingTime then collects that data and makes it publicly available. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of data points. And let me clarify, this is not a data of number of buyers. It's buyers' activities. Because if we were just looking at number of buyers on the market, it wouldn't be very significant. It wouldn't tell me a lot of stories. It wouldn't give me a sense of the market dynamics or the urgency, how hot the market is. Number of buyers is static information, static data. But buyers' activity shows you how intensely people are out there looking at houses. These are people who like what they see on the image first, and they call their buyer's agent, their agents, and they get in the car, drive there, go in and look at it. And these are people who have been, ideally, I don't know if all agents do this, but my clients do it. Ideally, their loans are approved, they are ready to put an offer. I've got their contract ready to go, and they go look at it. And if they love it, they can put an offer that day. So this data is collected from that kind of activity. So now let's take a look at the data. Once you click on the link in the description below, what you'll see is this. You'll see the map on the right hand, questionnaire on the left hand. It's going to ask you for your name, the title and company, and email address and state. Under your name, you'll know what to write, your name, your last name. Under title and company, it doesn't matter what you say. You can say homeowner, individual. In the email box, just put in your email address and select the state or province that you're in, and you will get access to individual states' data. But if you don't want to give your information, you can use this general North America graph, which, by the way, matches Virginia graph very closely. So I practice in Northern Virginia, and this is what I share with my clients. And even if my clients had some hunch on when is the best time to put the house on the market, they have never seen this. And so far, I haven't met anybody who knows about this public resource. Okay, let me explain this graph. On the horizontal axis, you see the time from January to December. On the vertical axis, you see the volume of activities, not number of buyers, it's the number of activities relative to early January. So for example, in a specific neighborhood, let's say there are 10 showings in early January. And when the percentage go up to, let's say, 40% in the spring or summertime, that means instead of 10 showings in that neighborhood, now there are 14 showings. And same thing, when the graph declines and goes into negative percentages, let's say negative 40%. Instead of 10 showings in early January, now there are 6 showings in December. You can see that there are full last 4 years of data overlaid on top of each other. So right now it's August 6th, 2025, and we can see 2025 in the orange line, which is the current year, all the way until, I have to hover over exactly, all the way until August 2nd. So the data does not get updated daily. It gets updated sometimes weekly, sometimes it lags 2 or 3 weeks behind, but that's okay because you've got the last 4 years of data that you can look at. So we're seeing 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 full data from January to December. The first week of January data is set as the baseline, and I want you to pay attention to this one big pattern. In the spring and summer, the graph goes up. It has a incline, okay? And then it tops off in the summer. In the fall and winter, it's got a negative slope. It declines, the graph declines. Activities slow down to negative number of activities relative to first week of January. And the juicy part out of this overall pattern is, even though the precise percentages from year to year is different, the overall pattern repeats every year and just keeps repeating. Spring and summer, fall and winter. Spring and summer, fall and winter. So, for example, if you had the flexibility to put your house on the market within a given year, any season that you could, you would choose spring or summer. You would choose either the inclining portion or the top portion to put your house on the market. And also notice that I'm using the word putting your house on the market instead of selling your house, because those are two completely different dates. Just FYI, putting your house on the market is when you make it available for potential buyers to come and look at your house. They so far haven't put any offer, it's not under contract, it's not sold. And the day that you sell your house is the settlement day, where your name is out of the title, the buyer's name is now on the title, but their money is now in your bank account. And sometimes those two dates can be as close as 1 week. If a buyer walks in with the cash, that's the shortest amount of time. Usually it's about 30 days from the time that you get a contract until you settle. Sometimes, depending on how long your house sits on the market, it's going to take several weeks or several months if things go really badly. And I don't want that to happen to you, because that's very stressful. And you usually end up losing a lot of money. Let's take deeper dive into the graph and recognize some other patterns. You may have already noticed it. It is these little dips. I'm going to call it holiday dips. You see these little dips that don't necessarily align on top of each other. These are spring break dips. And spring breaks don't happen exactly on the same calendar day each year. So that's why every year they don't overlay on top of each other. But there's this another dip right here. It's Mother's Day dip. The next dip that is a little bit deeper is Memorial Day dip. And this big one at the early July is the 4th of July, or the Independence Day dip, where people are barbecuing and shooting fireworks or watching fireworks and taking a break from house hunting. The next dip is back to school or Labor Day dip, and then another 2 big dips, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And the thing that I want you to recognize is that these dips where the holidays are on the same day each calendar year, they almost precisely are repeating the depth, can't even say it, the depth of the dip and the width of the dip they almost match over and over again every year. So that's what I want you to recognize. That's the juicy bits in the data. And what does this mean? It means people are out on vacation, spending time with family, doing other things, and just pausing house hunting. That means if you didn't have the choice to choose the peak or the incline of the graph to put your house on the market, pay attention to these dips and make sure when you're putting your house on the market, you put it 2-3 weeks before the dip or right after the dip. And if you're stressed out and behind schedule and you need to put your house on the market immediately, don't sweat on the Mother's Day dip because it's shallow, which means you're not losing out on too many potential showings. Memorial Day is a little bit deeper. It's up to you. 4th of July or the Thanksgiving or the Christmas dips. You absolutely don't want to put your house on the market right before those dips because those dips are deeper, which means you'll be losing out on significant number of showings. You don't want that. When you're trying to sell your house at the maximum price, you're trying to show to as many people as possible. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. Show it to as many people as possible so you can sell it at your asking price or above and get the contract as soon as possible. So when I meet with my clients, sellers, they think, let's say, they said, oh, I think it's going to take me 1 month to get the house ready. I tell them, actually, based on my experience, it might take you 2 months or maybe 3 months to get your house ready. Because here's what happens. When you start deep cleaning and fixing things and taking a closer look at your house, you usually find more things to fix, more things to upgrade. A little bit of upgrade here, maybe fresh paint in this room because this room just looks a little bit too old. And maybe that stain, now that we've moved around the furniture, kind of staged it and decluttered it, now that carpet looks a little bit too dirty and too used up, and now that stain looks a little bit too much. You want to replace the carpet. And yeah, if you want to do 2 aesthetic things that's going to get you 10 times more return is the new fresh paint, professional paint, and changing your carpets if your carpets are stained or dirty. Other than that, free things would be decluttering and deep cleaning. 2 free things: deep cleaning, decluttering. All right. And let's see. I don't want this to happen to you because this happens quite a bit, where someone is frantically getting their house ready. They think it's going to take a month, but 2 months pass by, maybe even more. And now they're behind schedule, they're stressed out, and they just, as soon as they become ready, they just put the house on the market. And guess what? It's right before the dip, and now they're missing out on 20-30% of the showing activities as they would have if they just waited 1 more week. I don't want that to happen to you, so I'm glad you're watching this video 1 or 2 years before you put your house on the market. And now let me give you some strategies and action plans, how to make sure you maximize the price of your house. Start early. If you think it's going to take you 1 month, please plan 2 or 3 months ahead. Focus on high impact improvements like painting and changing carpets and deep cleaning and decluttering and staging. Get professional photos, and that's not negotiable. You have to get professional photos. And make sure you get all your paperwork ready, whether you're selling your house for sale by owner or working with a realtor. Get all your paper ready, signed, dated. 2 more things. Make sure to list your house at the market price, not some number that's pulled out of thin air. based on CMA report, comparable market analysis. And then the last thing is, make sure your house is 100% ready. Not like, oh, I'm going to paint that last room after it gets under contract. Or, oh, I'm going to fix that thing a week after I put it on the market. No. It needs to be 100% ready. Just think about this. The buyers are spending, they're going to pay you hundreds of thousands or more than $1 million to buy a product being your house. And they don't want to see a little note saying, oh, I'm going to paint this room this color, once we're under contract. They want to see the full product, how they're going to receive the product, in what condition. They want to see it the day that they walk in. And if you combine all of these things with timing the market using this data, I guarantee you'll be able to maximize your sales price. Let's take a quick look at different states. Once you provide that information, your name, company name, email address, and your state, first of all, you'll be able to click on one of these states that when you hover over, it's clickable. And the gray states are where the showing time does not collect data, so they're not clickable. Let's look at Virginia, which is where I practice. And Virginia's pattern follows national pattern. Spring and summer is busy, fall and winter is slow. Let's look at some northern states. Let's look at Minnesota. Peak activity happens a little bit later, maybe 1 or 2 months behind. So the graph looks the peak happens a little bit later. And let's look at Florida. Looks like Florida's peak happens a little bit earlier. So the more north you go, when the weather gets colder, it looks like the peak activity happens a little bit later in the summer, versus when you go south, the peak happens a little bit earlier. Let's look at our neighboring state, West Virginia. Wild and wonderful, right? The graph looks wild and volatile. It looks all over the place. This reminds me of something that I did not mention. In what case this graph does not apply? This graph does not apply if you go and look at it and your state looks like this. There's no general hump pattern and there's no clear holiday dip pattern. Or if your house is more than half an hour away from your next door neighbor, then this graph does not work, because note at the bottom of the graph right here, it says,
the data points represent a rolling weekly average in showing times 100 top markets, with each market recordings tens of thousands of appointments in the years charted.
They look at 100 top markets. So in other words, if your house is similar in price range and size range, is located in suburbs or in city, you can leverage this data. So there you have it. Now you have a secret weapon that majority of homeowners do not know. Unless this video becomes viral, which is unlikely. I have included the link in the description below, so you can take a look at it on your own. I would recommend taking a look at it 1 month before you think you're going to put your house on the market, just to refresh your mind. And you can also bookmark this video and listen to it. And if you know somebody who would benefit from this information, please do them a favor and share this video. My name is Achma, realtor in Northern Virginia, your guide to maximize the value of your house. Thank you for watching.